Check 1 2 2. Check. Check 1 2. All right. Give me just a second here. Pop out chat. There we go. That way I can see everybody. And just let me know if you can hear me okay, if you can see me okay. Okay. My volumes might not be perfect, but we'll do the best we can, okay? Hey, everybody. Hey, Brett. Brent is here. Scott's here. BL's here. Brandon's here. Casey's here. Awesome. Good. All right. Looks like everybody's here. Damien's here. So thank you for taking some time out on a Friday. I thought it'd be kind of fun. I've been doing a bunch of different stuff, doing some webinars and some stuff for a course I have called Play Guitar for Life. Hey, everybody. Called Play Guitar for Life. And so I thought it'd be fun to go on YouTube here and chat about it a little bit and let you guys know kind of what I'm working on. Awesome. Good. I'm so glad everybody can hear me okay. So real quick here, just take 1 minute of your time. I've got a course, a guitar course called Play Guitar for Life, and there should be a link in the description. And if you're looking for some help in organizing your guitar path, whether it be chords or strumming, open chords, bar chords, power chords, cage chords, soloing, scales, theory, all these things are encompassed in this one guitar course, and I don't want to waste your time. But if you are interested, there's a link in the description. Please check it out and see what you think. The second thing is I put a link to the PDF in there, but I've had some people that have been saying that the link isn't working. So in this chat, I have put a different link. So if you're on the chat, please share that Dropbox link, and that way everybody can get the PDF. And then when I'm done, I'll go back and change that other link to for anybody that watches this in the future. Hey, Russ. Hey, everybody. I'm so glad everybody could make it. And let's go ahead and get started. So hopefully you have that PDF. If you can, please make sure that you click the link. Let's see here. Can everybody see me okay? Okay, everybody see me? Looks like... Okay, all right, awesome. From the Philippines, that's awesome. Just making sure everybody can see me and hear me okay, all right? Brian, yes, this is live at this exact very moment. Hey, everybody, can you see me okay? Can everybody see me and hear me? I just want to make sure before I get started, and then everybody goes, ah. Okay, awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Ray. Thank you from India. Hey, everybody. Awesome. Okay, cool. Thank you. You had me nervous there. So please post the PDF link. You can see my hands are kind of busy right now. So in the chat on on any YouTube channel that you're watching this on, hopefully you can get that chat or the link to the PDF. So get that if you can, and let's go ahead and get started, okay? All right, awesome. Looks like everybody's doing good. Make sure we get the chat link. Okay, please, thank you. Chat, I see you saying no, but I'm not sure what's going on because everybody else seems to hear me and see me okay. So I'm not sure if you need to restart it or something like that. So, all right, everybody, here we go. I don't want to waste any more of your time. It's Friday, for goodness sakes, okay? So let's do this as quick as possible and get you out on your way and have some fun with your day or evening. Okay, so 5 skills. Real quick here, I want to give you 5 things to think about that you should practice on a daily basis, in my opinion, to try and help you to get better at the guitar. Okay, one of the things, and the reason I created Play Guitar for Life, which is that guitar course I was talking about, there's a link in the bottom, in the description, is because people aren't sure sometimes they're not sure what to practice, or they're not sure what to do next, right? They learn all these different things on YouTube or whatever it might be, but there's really not a system or an organization of when you should do what. When should I start working on scales? When should I do pentatonic? Or when should I learn my theory? And so I created this guitar course so it would give you kind of a chronological idea of how to get from point A to point B. All the way along from the very beginning, all the way through theory and scales and all these other things, soloing and licks and stuff like that. So today I thought what would be kind of fun is to give you 5 things to think about on a daily basis that I think are important for you to practice. And it doesn't matter whether you're learning chords, it doesn't matter if you're learning scales or licks or songs or whatever it might be. These are going to work for anything. So if you've got that PDF, please go ahead and open it. You can scroll up in the chat, unless somebody can share it in this chat. You can scroll up a little bit. Hey, from France. Hey, everybody. Make sure that you scroll up and you get that PDF link, or somebody please share it in the chat, okay? So here we go, the 5 skills. The first one we're going to talk about, if you open up your PDF, the first one we're going to talk about is repetition, muscle memory, okay? When you learn things, if you're like me, when I first started learning, for instance, I would practice all these things in my room and I'd be, rocking through various things, and then I'd get together with other humans and I would forget half of the stuff I was working on. I'd be sitting there with these people and I'd go, I don't know what to do, okay? If that happens to you, what I want to explain to you is what I call the theory of absolution. I'm not going to call it mastering. I don't even know what mastering means. I think with guitar playing, you just play until you can't play anymore. That's kind of the way this works, okay? But the big thing is with repetition to an absolute level, which means that you really, really, really own it, whatever it might be. And the example I have in the PDF is a C chord. Now, this could be any chord, whether you're learning open chords or bar chords or power chords or cage chords or anything that's a formulated shape that your fingers need to go to, okay? So a lot of times what happens is when people are practicing these things, when they go to make one, whether it's kind of an advanced chord or an open chord or whatever it might be, they tend to build the chords, right? So you play like C, like this. You're setting the fingers down individually, or you're making a bar chord, so you're setting those fingers down. The goal is to produce muscle memory in that hand. And the way to do this is through a technique that I call bouncing. And I'm going to show you this a couple of different ways. Again, I'm going to go through this fairly quick because I don't want to waste anybody's time. Okay? So, if you've got the link, please share it. Otherwise, just scroll up on the chat and you'll see it. Okay? It's a Dropbox link. I'm not sure if the other one's working, but the Dropbox link will work fine. Okay, so with this bar chord, what you're going to do is you're going to pretend like your hand is super glued in this position. You see how I can take it off and it still maintains that shape? So the trick to organized shapes, chords, any kind of chord that you're learning, whether it's bar chords, open chords, whatever it might be, is training your hand to be able to make that shape over and over and over. So your hand goes down in one swoop, okay? If I'm sitting on my lap like this, and if you got your guitar, you can do this with me, and let's say we wanted to make a D chord, right? So as soon as I lift my hand, I should be able to make that shape and set it down, okay? So it isn't a matter of like, how fast can you go like this and things like that. It's not that. When you're sitting around, let's say you're watching TV or whatever it might be, right? Or you're just sitting in your room and you're hanging out. The goal is to spend enough time with this chord to where this shape becomes automated. Whether it's a C or a G or a D or an A or a bar chord or a cage chord or whatever it is you might be working on, it has to happen automatically. And the goal is you need to spend enough time, A, looking at it, B, thinking about it, and C, applying it, okay? And I'm telling you, in my opinion, for everybody out there, it isn't how much information you have. It's how good are you at the information that you do have. Okay, you have the rest of your life, however long that's going to be, to practice various different things. But if you really want to use it with other people, whether it's on stage, whether it's jamming with friends or jamming online or whatever it might be, the trick is making sure that whatever it is you're working on, you own. You are comfortable with it. Okay? Because if you're not going to use it anyway, or you're going to try and do it and it's going to fail on you and then you're going to feel insecure and all these other things. I don't want that to happen. Okay? The trick is make sure that when you go to make that chord, you make it in one motion. So once you learn how to play whatever chord it is that you're working on or group of chords, then you can practice the technique, what I call lift and shift, which is when you make a chord and you want another chord, as soon as you lift your fingers to go to the next chord, you set it down, you move it in air. You see how I'm doing that? I'm going from a G to a C, okay? Now let's say you're working on scales, for instance, okay? Now let's use your PDF here, scroll down a little bit, and I'll show you what I'm talking about here, okay? So I've got an example there on page 3 of the C major scale, and don't get stressed out about it. again, if you don't know the C major scale, you could apply this to any scale. And if you don't know any scales, again, this is where Play Guitar for Life would be really beneficial for you because I talk about all this stuff in chronological order, okay? So if you were going to play a C major scale, for instance, which looks like this, okay, and there's more of it, and it moves across the fretboard and all those sorts of things. But muscle memory is really important here too. What you can do is, yes, you can practice exactly what I did, and I'm not saying you shouldn't, because of course you should. But let's say, again, you're just hanging out, and you want to develop that fretting hand. What you can do is you can just take, for instance, the first two strings of this, which I'm playing 8, 10, 12, 8, 10, 12, okay? That's what I'm playing. I'm using my first finger, my middle finger, and my pinky. You might do it differently, and that's okay, all right? But what I'm doing is I'm just training my hand to make this shape. Now, it's not a formulated, pre-constructed shape like a G chord. It's a scale, so it's got motion to it, right? The fingers are moving in motion. But I can train myself or backwards. And I can do that with any scale or whatever. But again, I might be sitting in my, my living room with my family and they're watching TV. My rule for you is whenever you're sitting down, whenever you've got extra time, you should have this in your hands. Just be doing something on it, right? You don't have to make it a ritual where you have to go down in this room and there has to be certain lights and, it's got to be a certain time of the day. Just grab your guitar, right? And sit down and just start messing around while you're watching whatever show you like to watch, right? You're just practicing things. This is great stuff, okay? And if you've never heard me talk about it before, I use this thing called, I should get an endorsement by these guys, but it's called a shred neck. Shred neck. And it's just this little guitar neck that you can carry around. I bring it in the vehicle when I drive. I bring it on the plane all the time. Literally, if I'm traveling anywhere, I bring this, I don't have it in here, but I bring this little shred neck with me all the time. And it's just it's about that much of the guitar neck. So you don't, play it like a full guitar. You just hold on to it and you practice your chords and practice your scales and things like that. It's awesome, okay? So that's what I'd like you to think about a little bit is this muscle memory to absolution. Look at what you're doing, think about what you're doing, okay? Visualize the shapes that you're creating, and then practice them over and over and over, focused, right? Don't be distracted by things. When you really want to learn something, the best way to learn it is to get all the distractions out. Shut your phone off, shut your TV off, and just really concentrate. Once you've kind of got it there, then you can, have the TV on or whatever, and you can just kind of practice this repetition to develop these things, okay? It's awesome. Okay, so again, I don't want to waste a bunch of your time, so let's move on. Number 2, which is page 4, okay, is visualization. Visualization, all right? Visualization is so important. And I don't want to waste your time here, but like when I'm driving and I listen to music on the radio, I will start, or a playlist that I've made or something, I'll start visualizing without knowing how the song goes. I'll start kind of visualizing how I think it looks in my head and where the changes are and how the progression is going and the different sections of the song. So by the time I ever get to my guitar, I've already got a game plan of how I think the song goes, and I think I know where the parts are in the guitar. It doesn't mean I'm always right, but I start off by really getting to know the situation that I'm putting myself in, right? So here's my point with visualization. Learning how to see some concept across the entire fretboard on an absolute level is going to bring your game up. Huge, right? So let's say you're playing an A minor pentatonic scale. So you're here. And you're making some music there, and that's awesome, right? But learning how to see that on other places, which we call positions, in other places on the fretboard, on an absolute level, okay? Not just sort of kind of know it, because again, when you get together with people, then you forget it all. Like you panic and it goes away. Knowing it on an absolute level. So when you look down and you go, whatever it is you want, you can move around and play whatever it is you're looking for because it's all sitting there, okay? Now, it does take some time and it does take some organization and things like that. But I'm telling you, if you're one of those people that are kind of trapped in positional things, like you can see the C chord here, and maybe you see it up here, you want to learn how to, and this is on page 4, you want to learn how to see that C chord across the entire guitar with what we call the cage chording system. Now again, it might not be the next thing on your list, but it certainly opens up a lot of different things that you can do across the entire fretboard with chords and with scales, which they're both on that page 4, okay? So, depending on where you are in your journey, the C major scale may not be what you're looking for, right? So, you might be working on the pentatonic. Well, then don't worry about the C major scale that I've got in here. I just use an example, okay? But if you're learning the pentatonic, you should be able to do that across the fretboard. Or if you're learning how to play, like what I love about cage chords, they always freak people out, but you know, cage chording is a really great way of getting out of just playing all the chords the same way. You know, so let's say I wanted to play, C. So instead of playing C, F, G or something like that, instead of playing them in the traditional way, I might do something where I play C here, and then F here, and then G here. So I can make these little kinds of comps like, you know, Hendrix and things like that, where I'm doing these. You know, just cool little... You know what I mean? I just love this stuff because it frees up your creativity and your ability of being able to see things. Now again, I'm going to remind you, the more you can reach an absolute level with these things that you're learning, the better off you're going to be able to use it. So once again, it's not how much you know, it's how well you know the things that you are working on. So when you get together with people, maybe you're okay at this and okay at this, but you're really good at this. Well, that's everybody, okay? I mean, I'm a horrible jazz guitar player, right? I got friends that are amazing jazz guitar players. I don't feel bad about it. I study what I study. You know, I can't do everything. I only have a limited amount of time a day in my life, just like everybody else does. So do the best you can with what you enjoy. It's going to make your journey more fun anyway. All right, let's keep going here, guys. So moving on to, this would be page 5. And again, all this stuff is, you know, I talk about all these things in, again, an organized manner in Play Guitar for Life, which there's a link in the description you can certainly look at. All right, so number 3, theory. What I call real-world theory, practical application of things that you really need, how they work, okay? It's really important to think about this. Not just a bunch of theory that you can't use. Like when I was in college, I was learning all kinds of theory, but as I've gotten out of college, and obviously I've gotten a lot older, I don't use all of those things. There's things that I use on a regular basis. There's things that you might use that I don't use. That's great, right? But the goal is finding those practical things. So when you're in a situation with other musicians and they say, okay, we're going to play X, or we're writing this song and it's in the key of Y, or whatever it might be, whatever comes to your mind is the way you're going to approach comping rhythmically or soloing or writing a melody or whatever it might be. So theory, practical real-world theory can be really, really helpful to you, because then you kind of know where to go. You've got some ideas, some leads on what might work versus, well, all I know is whatever that might be, right? So if you look at your sheet, and again, I can't go into great detail because this thing would be 3 hours long, which would be fun, but you probably have a life too, right? So, but real-world theory, what that, I keep looking over there because I have a monitor over there. So, what I'm showing you is that if we took that same C major scale that I was showing you earlier, that C major scale uses 7 different notes or 7 different pitches, okay? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then the octave. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Now, that scale generates those 7 notes. Well, those 7 notes generate 7 different chords. Now, to summarize this really quick, because again, I don't want to waste your time, whenever you're playing in a major key, now this is the cool part, if you're playing in C major, you'd start on C and you'd play the shape that I'm showing you right now. Now, of course, it keeps going. and it's down here and it's up here. That's what we just talked about with visualization. But if I wanted to play in, for instance, the key of G, I could take this exact same shape that I'm playing right now and simply move down to the 3rd fret. Or the key of A, I could play the same thing but start on A. Now to be able to do that, I need to know the notes on my 6th string. I need to memorize that shape on the PDF, right? Well, the next step is understanding that that major scale generates 7 chords, but 6 very, very functional chords that you use on a daily basis. The 1 chord, the 2 chord, the 3 chord, the 4 chord, the 5 chord, and the 6 chord. The 7 chord is used less, and I don't want to waste any time on it, but it just is. So what happens is if you're in the key of C major, your first note is C, and it generates a chord. Your second note is D, and it generates a chord. Your third chord is E, and it generates a chord. F, G, and A, they all generate chords. So when you're in the key of C major, your first chord winds up being C major, which makes logical sense, and you can see on that PDF I've got that written. Well, this is transferable to any key you want to be in. If you're in the key of G, your first note is G, your first chord is G major. So here's the point. In whatever key you want to be in, on the PDF it's written in C, the first chord is major, the second chord is minor, the third chord is minor, the fourth chord is major, the fifth chord is major, the sixth chord is minor. Here's the shortcut. 1, 4, 5 is always major. 2, 3, 6 is always minor in a major key. Now people will start going, what about modes? That's a whole nother conversation. And it's really not that bad either, but let's just stay with what we're talking about right now. So if I wanted to play the 6 functional chords in the key of C major, I'd get C major, 1, D is the second, so that's D minor. The third chord is, the third note, is E, so I play E minor, that's my third chord. Fourth chord is major over the F. 5 is major over the F. That's the G chord, sorry. And then the 6th chord is minor over the A. So again, not to confuse you, but you get a 1, 4, 5, that's all major, and a 2, 3, 6, that's all minor. And that will work in any key. So you think about songs like Glycerine by Bush, right? Okay? It's using a 1, 5, 6, 4. Okay? And if I understood 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 5, 6, 4, so I'm using major, major, minor, major. I know I'm rushing through this fast, so I don't want to stress you out, okay? So that's the way that works. If I played When I Come Around by Green Day, it's a 1, 5, 6, 4. It's the same chord progression, just a different tempo, different feel, right? If I played Don't Stop Believin' by Journey, 1, 5, 6, 4. They might not be in the key of C. I could be in the key of G, and I just move it all down. 1, 5, 6, 4. Okay, so again, I'm not saying that you need to walk away understanding all of this right now. I'm just introducing you to a topic that I think is really important for you to practice on a regular basis. Okay, the first one was memorization, muscle memory, all of those kind of things. The second thing was visualization. The third one is some sort of practical theory that can help you make sense of things on your fretboard, make sense of things out in the musical world here. You don't need to know everything, but you need to know things that pertain to what you like, okay? So let's keep going here because I don't want to waste your time, and I know you guys have questions, but most of the questions, unfortunately, lead to long discussions, which what I'm going to do is go back through the chats, and I'm going to see your questions, and I'm going to build some more live events off your questions. Okay? So if I don't get to them today, please understand that I'll get to them soon. Now, further down in the chat, I think you can sign up for notifications whenever I go live. And that way, if I'm going to do another live session, I'll let you know. And then we'll get together and we'll do this again. So if I don't get your questions answered, please understand that I will be going through the chat again and I will be taking notes, and I'm going to try and build some more live events so we can get together again, okay? So the next one, number 4 on page number 6, are the 3 S's: strength, speed, and stamina, okay? Bottom line here, technique exercises. Technique, okay? Building strength, building speed, And ultimately, because of those two things, building stamina so you can play longer, you can play faster. Now, let me explain the word fast and speed, those two words. People always equate fast and speed to metal or Yngwie Malmsteen or something, which I love all of that. But I love blues and I love old school country. My parents, I was born on listening to things like Don Williams and Eddie Rabbitt and Willie Nelson and, you know, all these different guys like that. That's the music that I actually grew up with, and 50s music. So my life isn't based on how fast I can play. I love speed stuff, don't get me wrong, but I love all kinds of different things. Think of it this way: speed and strength. When you're playing, let's say you're playing something that's 120 beats a minute, right? So you're going, whatever it might be. Again, I don't know how fast 120 is at this point, but whenever you're given a situation, a musical situation to play at, the song is at a tempo. Most songs are somewhere between, 100 and 140, something like that. Not 200 necessarily, unless you're playing Metallica or, whatever it might be. That's a generalization, but you get my idea. So if you're playing at 120, please understand, though, that you've still got options of note values. You're playing quarter notes or eighth notes or 16th notes. This is really important, right? So even if you've got a song that's going this fast, let's say I was doing this, right? Well, here's my beat. So when I go to solo over this thing, I'm either going to be playing right here, which is fine, but I might want to go twice that fast. Or I might want to go twice that fast. Right? Whatever it might be. That doesn't mean you want to play thrash metal. Maybe you do, but you still need to be able to move from quarter to eighth to 16th, that sort of thing. So I'm telling you, we get a misconception of what speed and technique is. People always go, well, in blues, you don't. No, you really do. You listen to a guy like Joe Bonamassa or Robin Ford or Stevie Ray Vaughan. Okay? Those guys are more than capable technically. So I don't like to pigeonhole a style of music or a particular player. We're not talking about them. We're talking about you, right? So whatever it is that you're looking for, I'm just saying, the stronger you are, the more confident you are with this fretboard, the stronger you are in your hands, the whole thing becomes one thing, which is your abilities on this instrument, how good you feel about yourself, how good you feel when you're with other people, how good you feel when you're in front of other people. Okay? It's really important to think about these things. So that's what strength, speed, and stamina are all about. And then to get to the last one here, and then I'll let you get going here, are just some soloing essentials that I think every player is introduced to, but they don't always spend a lot of time really trying to work on them, okay? When you learn how to play a scale, I don't care if you're learning how to play, a major scale or a pentatonic scale or whatever it might be, blues scale, whatever it is, there are techniques within there that make your soloing sound better just by taking these techniques and developing, again, to an absolute level. Now, what I'm talking about here are things like bending. Vibrato that I'm adding at the end. These are techniques that every guitar player needs to be able to do. I call them vocal techniques because they remind us more of a singer. When we just do stuff like this, okay, we're playing the scale, but there isn't a lot of human element in there. When you start playing and you add in stuff like that, all of a sudden it begins to sound more authentic in a guitar sense, right? So learning how to do proper bending, learning how to do vibrato. Another one that I really, really love is sliding. You can start end phrases. There's all kinds of cool stuff like that, okay? So thinking about bends, and they're listed on there. There's, I believe, 5 of them, yeah. Hammer-ons, pull-offs, slides, bends, vibrato. Learning how to manipulate those tools when you solo, and again, you don't need to think of it overwhelming. I'm not asking you to do it right now. and have it done and perfect by tomorrow. What I'm saying, these are lifetime things that you think about, that you practice on a daily basis to get better at them. Okay? Again, in Play Guitar for Life, I talk about all these things, but it's really important for you to start thinking about developing these. Okay? It's really, really cool. So hopefully that helps a little bit. The last thing I got on there, it's B. It's the at the very bottom of the last page there. If you do have your guitar, I want to give you a couple things to think about. I've talked about these before if you've watched some of my videos, but I just think if you're in that place where you're learning how to scale a little bit. Okay, so let's say you got your pentatonic, but you're not really able to make things sound very musical at this point. So now you've been introduced to these 5 techniques, and you've probably already seen them before, but maybe you don't feel so good about it, right? Maybe you don't feel so good about your bending or your vibrato or something, and you know you need to develop them further. And now you got you got me hounding you to keep working on them. Well, here's 2 other things I want you to think about, then I'll wrap this up so you all can go back to your lives. One is adding in what I call the ninth, the magic ninth. And now don't stress about what the ninth means, but basically what you're doing is, if you were in the key of A minor pentatonic, okay, the A is the root. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to add in this new note, which is 2 frets or a whole step higher than the root. And I'm going to show it to you on the first 2 strings here, and then we can start there. So let's say you were on the first string and you're playing 5 and 8, which is pentatonic. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to add in the 7. And what happens is all of a sudden this pentatonic scale, which has these large intervals or distances between the notes, for the first time you've got yourself a half step. And I love to bend them, so I'll go. And now notice how all of a sudden it sounds very melodic, right? Now the octave of this this ninth, which is the 7th fret of the first string, is actually located on the 4th fret of the 3rd string. And that's another one that I really like to play down there. So if I'm playing pentatonic, it's just very melodic sounding. So what's nice about that note is, again, once you learn it, it doesn't mean you're going to use it all the time. It's nice to play pentatonic. And then all of a sudden you throw in this note and it changes up the sound or the color of your solo, right? That's one thing that people don't realize is because you have options, different scales or whatever you might be thinking in your head, doesn't mean you always want more. Isn't always better. Sometimes when you leave things out and then you inject them into the solo or into the melody that you're creating, it colors things up and it elevates it. So the listener goes, oh, that was really cool. Where when you use it all the time, the listener gets used to it. And then all of a sudden it doesn't sound as colorful anymore. Okay? So that's a really nice thing to be able to do is think about. So if I was playing more pentatonic, and then I throw that note in, all of a sudden it sounds really nice. Okay? And then again, the last thing, and I'm going to let you get out of here, is using what I call the minor to major twist, which is really a bluesy thing, but it sounds really, really cool if you've never done it before. Again, we're going to look at minor pentatonic. Okay? So let's say we're on the A on the 7th fret of the 4th string. Okay? And we'd normally go to the 3rd fret, or excuse me, the 5th fret of the 3rd string, which we are going to go to. But here's what we're going to do. Is once we get there, we're going to do a hammer-on from 5 to 6. So that 6 is a new note for us. Okay? Now, technically, what you're doing is you're playing the minor third of this A minor chord. And again, if you don't know what a minor third is, don't stress about it. It's just you're playing this note of the minor chord. If we wanted to make that chord major, we'd put our middle finger down. That's what we call a major third. We're using both the minor third and the major third, and we're doing it as a hammer-on from the minor to the major, so it sounds like this. And the way to make it most effective from a rock and roll blues kind of standpoint is to move from the lower note to the higher note. When you move from the higher note to the lower note, it just begins to sound a bit more exotic, which is cool, but it won't work as well for a blues rock situation. Where if you use it as that hammer-on, and notice when I do it, I'm skipping the 7. I'm just playing the 5 and the 6. And if I come back down, I'll play the 7, but then I'll play 5, 6, and leave. Okay? So there's just a ton of really great things you can do. This is what we call phrasing, is learning how to do little twists to things to give you a particular kind of sound. Because if you're just offered all of these notes, hey, here's a chromatic scale and here's all the frets, and it's too much. Like, we have to learn how to twist things together to make them sound a certain way, and then you have to practice them on a daily basis to make them useful to you, okay? Some things you learn you'll use, some things you won't. That's okay. Nobody absorbs everything that we learn. We take the stuff that is most practical for us, and then we put the other stuff on the sides, you know, just for now. Maybe we throw it away. Maybe we just put it on the side for now and we'll come back to it later, but we find these real practical things that we need. So guys, thank you so much. Thank you, men and women, for being here today. And thank you for taking time out of your day or your morning or your evening, depending on where you're from. And again, I will go through the chat and I will check for anything that I can do, kind of culminating them together, and come up with some more live stuff that I'll be doing in the very near future here. So take care, everybody. God bless you, and I'll talk to you soon, okay? Bye.